Max, guess what? When this comes out, I'll be in California. I might have killed Joseph by now. I predict definitely some bodily harm coming to him within the first 12 hours of me being in his vicinity. When I get in California, I can feel it. Like old timers feel like the bad weather coming in.
Your spidey sense is tingling.
Yeah, I can see that this hand right here is going to get used to give him a ringing slap. I can feel it. Yeah. I can feel it. Within 12 hours, if we make it past 12 hours of no bodily harm coming to him, then we should be good. But right now, I think within 12 hours, I will be hurting him of some form bodily.
For legal reasons, that's the joke.
With that said, hey, you know what? Let's drop that intro. Let's get ready. We got some questions to answer, and we got a great guest on this weekend, a young, fast young UK racer. So with that said, let's drop that intro.
Nitro is the glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. Welcome to the No Name RC podcast. Get ready for some serious bench racing. But be warned, we speak our minds, express our thoughts, and sometimes things can get a little rowdy.
Hate, and he just was influenced by the hate coming from the left, the hate coming from the right.
And let's get back to more club racing and less of this money-grabbing book racing.
It's hard not to be arrogant when you're always right. Yeah.
See what I mean? That's exactly why people call you arrogant, Max.
You may not agree with everything we say, but it's definitely worth a listen.
And our pick, can you stop whatever you're doing?
Join your host, Lefty the Great, with co-hosts and guests as they get together to chat RC.
Hey, after that race that I watched this morning, I have to talk about
Here we go. $100 right here, $100 throw. Oh no! I like this.
Yes, indeed. Nitro's the glory, but E-Buggy pays the bills. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 170 of the No Name RC podcast. I'm your host, Keenan White, a.k.a. Lefty the Great. Over there is, in the same hoodie, same hat from the other day, homeless, arrogant, Valentine-less, Max.
I thought we were past this point already. We went through Valentine's on the previous spot.
So now we need to know that you received a Valentine's from an actual female.
Yeah.
Was it in a friendly sense, or was it in a sense of, hey, it's time to get your mustache trimmed and stop wearing a hoodie everywhere and get out of the homeless look, and maybe get a little bit, trimmed up for me?
Oh no, we're friends, so it's all good.
So that Valentine doesn't count. Doesn't count.
All right.
Anyway, guys, welcome to episode number 170. Max, welcome back. I know it's cold there in Finland. Thank you for your time. Unfortunately, you don't have a Valentine's to keep you warm. But hey, so,
If I wasn't sick, I could go over to your house and
All right, you're sick a little bit. You're sick. Yeah. You're sick a little bit. All right. Also sick. We'll talk about that in a minute too. But anyway, guys, welcome to episode number 170. As I said, you guys will probably listen to this. I'll be in California. JQ may or may not be alive. I don't know. I can't guarantee that. He may be a new jump at Revelation. Who knows? But we got some questions to go over today. We got Jonni Skidmore, the 2021 UK national champion on, fifth place finisher at Montpellier GP. Him and his brother Will, some fast UK racers, young racers. Their fathers are very outspoken too, so I like him. Yeah.
He says things, so I can.
He does. I give him respect for that. Very outspoken. But yeah, Jonni is on with us today to talk about his racing and hopefully what the future lies for him. Thank you to Jonni for his time. Max, we're on. People's got some questions for you. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody, man. We got to say thank you to all the people that support the podcast. We can't do it without you guys from around the world. Thank you to the NNRC Squad. Without you guys, none of this is possible. So keep sharing, liking, hitting that notification button, all that good stuff. And help this podcast go into the algorithms, into the stratosphere, and let's go viral. Also, shout out to the patrons of the podcast. We can't do it without your extra support. We greatly appreciate what you guys do. Excuse me. If you guys wish to become a patron, there is a link in the written description of this podcast. And shout out to all the awesome sponsors that support this podcast and use this as an advertising platform. Remember, everybody, that showing the sponsor some love shows the podcast some love. And I want to say shout out to Invisible Speed, our title sponsor for the year, TZO Tires, High Tech RC, TNR Fuels, Beach RC, Techno RC, Lugs Racing Tires, Mayako, G-Spec RC Tuning, JQSM, Papa Willie's Traction Tonic, Racecraft USA, Clinic RC, JTP RC, RCGP, House of RC. Special shout out to my boy RC Kevin, my good friend, the Dr. Alex Hagberg. I talked to him yesterday. He's going to this new carpet track in Lisboa, and he's off to France next week for a race. He's busy, super busy. Touring car keeps the doctor busy. And
yeah, you can definitely put a lot of time in touring cars. It's
but I didn't realize there's so many races. I didn't realize he went to so many races.
Yeah. They have
and
lot, so.
Shout out to the Viking out there, who I'll see very shortly. It's been so long since I've seen him in person. I'll be so happy to see him. Our relationship has changed so much since then. You know, we really, truly have a bromance going on here. And I'm excited to get her on and be, you know, by this time I'll be in full, like, RC mode. Like, you know what I mean? Just, like, bouncing off the, you know, I'll be, like, so full of energy for the first 24 hours. And then it's like, that's it. Boom. It's sloth mode after that. So I can't wait. I can't wait. You know. All right, Max. So with that said, everybody, if you guys want to support those sponsors, you can go in the written description. There's links. We have coupon codes. We have affiliate links. We got a little slice of the affiliate links, and, you know, help you get. You can also save some money with the coupon codes. So show those sponsors some love. Shows us some love.
Oh, and by the way, not only that,
up,
I think we have some pretty good sponsors too. Like,
yeah,
a lot of these companies, I think, sort of we or you mostly. I mean, I've been on just barely a year now, but like most of these sponsors on the podcast, I think, sort of share the values of what we're trying to preach. Like actually putting stuff into, like, TNR, putting money into RC and promoting sort of having fun. High tech, doing products like properly, not like trying to sponsor like everybody and do like cheap Chinese stuff that just marketed for your course, like a lot of brands seem to do these days. They are like a proper American brand and they stick to that. And a lot of like techno, like they've been sticking to their car program. Every single brand here, like, I think they do some good stuff. So I'm very happy that we have them.
Yeah, it's going to be good to see Matt and the rest of the guys from techno as well. Tebow said he will come if he has time. You know, it's hard to stress those guys out when they're at races, but he might come on and do something with us while we're there. And there's Matt's a good guy. Daniel's a good guy. And I've said it over and over again. Like, you know, obviously with JQ Racing, we've had our beefs with techno, but I've never really had a beef with techno. And I really applaud what they do, man. They have a strong team. They have a strong base. People that join their team, they don't leave. They like, you know, they're happy. You know, I talk to guys all the time. I talk to a father-son team. They're like happy, like we ain't switching for nothing. And I'm like, yeah, if you're happy, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
But show their sponsors some love, and I appreciate their support. All right, Max. Real quick, did we have anything we wanted to touch on before? Yes, let's touch on that before we go into some questions real quick. Or do we want to save it? Let's do a little rant at the end.
Okay,
yeah, we could do a little rant.
If it's what I think it is, I'm fine.
Yeah, because you was a little bit upset about that. So, you know, with that said, we're gonna go right into our Beach RC bench racing Q&A, and thank you to Brent and all those guys for their support, and thank you guys for sending in the questions. Max enjoys them, so remember, hit that affiliate link too.
BeachRC.com, the Racers one-stop online hobby shop. Choose from all the popular brands and variety in stock with super fast shipping and great customer service. BeachRC.com still has the local hobby shop feel with all the benefits of the internet. BeachRC.com is the exclusive distributor for Ultimate Racing, JQ Racing, Pro Circuit Racing Tires, Nitro Lux Fuels, and Assault RC Performance products. So fill up your cart and check out at BeachRC.com today.
And thank you to Beach RC, Brent and Lucas and the guys there. I'll see Brent this week. Well, next weekend. I keep thinking the race is this weekend. I'll see him next week at DNC. And shout out to Lucas. I don't know when he's going to get the white whale going again and get his videos going. I think they took a little break from racing. But we have an affiliate link there, guys. It's in the written description. If you guys can show them a little bit of love. And if you guys didn't know, I'm wearing my new lenses and my glasses, so the anti-reflection, so now I can see better. Been rushing around all morning doing that too. All right, so the first question for us comes from our good friend Connie Swenson of House of RC. What's up? Remember, guys, House of RC is going to be where you're going to find all the DNC blogs and whatnot from the NNRC travels there. And if you haven't already gone and signed up, go and fill out yourself a House of RC profile. If you were only allowed to watch and follow one race in RC for the rest of your life, which one would it be? You're not allowed to pick any IFMAR races.
Yeah, that's tough. Like I probably have to say like DNC, but only if the Europeans go.
I was about to say that.
If Neo was alive, then 100% Neo, because that was amazing. That was just like the season's about to start. You're just watching it online, like proper commentary, proper film work.
DNC this season's about to start.
Guys.
I think if Neo,
but
I
for
think
us,
if Neo was still around.
European.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. For us, like the Neo was sort of like the European season was about to start, because in Finland you get to drive like at the earliest like late March, like early April. But the Neo is just sort of that point, and then like because that was like, if we're being honest, like at the peak years, like that, like there has never been, apart from Worlds, an event that's as stacked as Neo was at its peak. Even DNC these past like few years where like Europeans have gone, it's never been to that level. So yeah, that's why for me it's sort of number one.
I think 2017 is probably the most stacked it's ever been. Ungaro, Mayfield, like Ronafog, the Tasman. The funny thing is, a bunch of Americans have won that race, like Tebow 6 times. And,
but Tebow is a specialist. That track is like a specialist thing for him. And Drake also, like, he won during the early years, which was the Neo was a bit different back then.
I think if Phil was still doing the Neo race right now, I think it would be probably that number one race in the world that everybody went to.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it would be like we would have a lot more Americans and a lot more, but not only that, it attracted a lot of people from just around the world. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would have to say DNC at the moment, just because of the international crowd and the legacy that it has. But yeah, just because, and also because of the competition that's there. So that's probably it, man. What we're gonna be seeing her next weekend. All right, my buddy Chris Trudeau from up in the Pacific Northwest, avid scale crawler. For the most part, 8-scale buggies have really remained unchanged over the years, other than perhaps the changes is plastics and incorporating carbon fiber. Has anyone really revolutionized the 8-scale buggy? The use of pills for suspension, diff height, agamas, monoshock. Can you identify when buggies reached a turning point? Yes, when the Losi 8 came out.
I don't think the Losi 8 was a big deal, because none of that stuff has really stayed around.
Yeah, like, but things changed after that.
Okay. That's actually a good. I didn't think of it that way. Losi 8 was probably where like other brands realized like, oh shit, we actually got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Because before that, the cars remained like Mugen and Kyosho remained basically unchanged for a long time.
Right.
After that, even Kyosho had to put some effort into it. The geometry stayed similar, but a lot of stuff changed in like radio trays and whatnot. Body shells developed a lot after that as well. Like the blob body shells the TLR made the first, and people were like, okay, now we're gonna try different stuff, and then that resulted in the cap forward bodies. So I'd say, yeah, actually that's pretty good. But the TLR itself didn't reinvent it; it just caused the reinvention to happen. I think that's sort of a big point. In materials for sure. I think at the same time, the sort of manufacturing in China thing became much more accessible. All those like smaller brands like SOAR, S-Works, JQ, like at that time it was a smaller brand, and a lot of those brands like died off then, and some stayed, but that sort of probably made it much easier to produce I would say high quality plastics in terms of that they were really durable. So high quality plastics and sort of materials that are able to be used everywhere in the car. So I think that could be sort of the switching point. But in terms of just pure design, as in what the Gamma is right now trying to do, or actually it's not really a Gamma, it's Nemo who's doing it. What Nemo trying to do with the buggy, I think that sort of, we haven't had that before.
Or haven't had it, yeah. Maybe this is I think Hazelwood was running the car at, I don't know why you wouldn't just let Lee run it. Like, let him run it. And
that's the thing. Like, I don't really want to be too sort of negative about this because people already have a lot of doubt about new stuff. But I'd say if it was better,
let Lee run it.
At least if it was a lot better, Lee would have ran it already. So my guess is that they still need to finish, like, iron out the setup and be comfortable with the car, which is fine. And I think that's like with any car that happens,
right?
Not just this sort of extreme, how do you call it, extreme change. Like just releasing a few new parts can really disrupt how the car works. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the car isn't as good as they want it yet. Can it be? Maybe. Do I think this sort of concept is something worth copying? Personally, no. I think there's a lot of disadvantages to the setup. They have it. It looks really nice. It looks really clean. So that's nice, and it's sort of easy to also assemble and easy to maintain. Like diffs and stuff come out pretty easily. So I can see a lot of positives in it, but also I don't see this being sort of like, I don't see other cars going this direction. That's what I'm trying to get
if it works, it will.
Yeah, but I don't see it having any sort of clear benefits where that would happen. Like the lower center of gravity, that change is mild or possibly not even real, because the shocks stand up quite high on top of the gearbox. The sort of
you actually put that weight up a little higher, don't you?
Yeah, I'd say it's lower than what we have now because the shocks
right, but it's centralized right there in the center now. Before, where it was probably spread out vertically.
Yeah, so
maybe I'm an idiot.
It's hard to say where it is. I'd say it's either lower or the same. It's probably not higher, but you don't reduce like unsprung mass. You don't really improve much. The aero is the biggest thing improving, and it's funny because no one takes that seriously. For me, I'd have a field day going on this car because you could do anything with this. You could if they actually wanted to do stuff, they could do some crazy stuff on this car. So I'd like to see them do right. That because you don't have the shock towers in there disturbing the airflow as much.
Oh my gosh! What did you have, like some carbon fiber, some 3D printed super wings or something on there?
I mean, you could do them from Lexan, but you just have it so that the airflow, like, you just put him into CFD and see where the air goes, and like the amount of downforce you could generate without the shock towers, it would probably be pretty good, and you could actually have a proper wing instead of that ugly thing they have on the car now. So that's probably the only thing I can see this car dominate by, the aero. I don't see anything else sort of, because the shock function is compromised. The steering rack was compromised. The weight, the lower center of gravity or the unsprung mass, that doesn't really exist. There is an improvement, or if there is improvement, it's very slight. So sort of that's all I sort of, that's why I don't think it will be the next direction.
All right.
I think it could be something they make work, but not something everyone copies.
Right.
Like
Okay. I understand that. So, but what about innovation? Because my thought process on innovation is it's coming in a form that we probably don't know. So we had some form of innovation come up here this year, and that was like with Tony, with Clinics air filters, which is starting to catch on. You know what I mean? I think what we're going to see with cars is innovative wise, like easier to work on cars, stronger cars, probably going to be getting lighter as we go on. You know what I mean? And but I think the basic design will stay the same.
I think we've sort of had what you said. We sort of had that already. So what happened was the cars were really heavy. Then people started making them light, but they were really like they broke always. And then
but people will put the weight. We'll figure right now parts materials are better, and what we'll do is figure out where cars will be made to have like more directed to displacing weight to tune and all that type of stuff. I think we'll see more of that.
But at the moment, cars are really, really heavy. They are more heavy than they were like 10
so maybe
years
they
ago.
go lighter, and then you go lighter, and then you place the weights where you want and all that type of stuff. And durability is going to be a thing I think we're going to see as, just, and I think what's going to happen here shortly, maybe in the next 5 years, is 3D printing technology is going to like get to a point where I think it's usable.
Yeah. I think that's going to make a big change. I don't see 3D printing being a viable option for production because it's quite slow.
Not for production, but for tinkerers and
it's for
inventors
testing,
and stuff like that.
For testing, like the Infinity car and also the Agam prototype, both were fully 3D printed, like the parts they had. So I think that already is existing. A lot of stuff like the weight thing, so it shifted from heavy cars in the early 2000s to light cars in the sort of 2010 era to very durable cars, which we have now, but they also have a lot of weight. Like even Kyosho, it was like barely over 3.2 kilograms, which is the limit in like the TKI2, TKI3 days. And now it's way heavier because they have had to assess for durability because it, like in America, especially cars that break easy don't sell because their tracks have big jumps and it's much easier to break stuff. So like for sales purposes, people have made the cars a lot heavier. And also like the easy assemble stuff, like the gearboxes and stuff are pretty easy now. Some brands seems to be going the wrong way at times, which is weird. But yeah, so I think there are a lot of improvement. But I think now sort of this design we have now across all brands is just like you need to just refine it to like just finish it. But in terms of like proper innovation, I think there is coming stuff like shocks will be next big thing.
Right. Like Wally's, like the shocks that Wally's testing.
Yeah.
I like it. You say you don't think it's going to work, but theirs look pretty cool.
Yeah. That specific thing, I don't think will improve much, but I think sort of what's going to come next after this, people realize, hey, you can actually do stuff with the shocks. Maybe then people will be like, okay, like trying new stuff out. And with this design that, we can just talk about the shocks now because this is actually a good sort of specific example of how this is going to work. So now we have this shock that has this one valve you can tune with. So I could now design, like I know how I would do it, a shock that has low speed, high speed, and then rebound low speed, high speed. And it would be pretty easy to do. It would have been not much harder than this shock that this guy has done. So that's like another thing. Like some brand will also get this because it's not that complicated. Like it's pretty easy to do actually if you just think about it. And some engineer will probably
if it was easy to do, wouldn't we see more of this, Max? Where are your shocks like this then?
People don't think about it. Like it like this guy sells them from $600. Like imagine making like 100 of these and then they don't sell or they don't work just as you intend them to, or then someone calls them shit on a podcast and no one buys them after that. Like imagine like that's a huge that's a huge risk to take. And but I think the fact that you spend time designing and testing and all that, it's like it's sometimes it's just not worth the work. And that's something I think it's going to change because stuff like this is going to be refined and sort of the overall design of the car is going to be refined. So now you have to look for other things. You have time for other things.
I could believe that. I look forward to Wally's observations with the Sharks.
Yeah.
I'll see him at DNC here, so it's gonna be good. I'll see him. Actually, I'll probably see him. I think he said he's going to Revelation this weekend, so I'll see him there. All right. Moving on. Benjamin James. Great question, by the way, Chris. Thank you. Benjamin James. Are there any Asian drivers we should be on the lookout for in 8 scale off-road? A lot of major races are American drivers versus European drivers, but since Atsushi won the Worlds in 08, there has not been much Asian presence on the world stage. In 8 scale buggy, that's true.
Yeah, to me, Nada is the only one I can.
I knew you was gonna say that. You love Nada,
but like, let's be honest, like there just isn't. Like, there are drivers that are good in Japan, like can't like I don't know if it's like Wataru Takashira or something like this.
Yeah.
He's one
Watara.
that's good. Yeah.
What's Orange Wheel's name?
Remember.
Does he run?
No, that's a different guy. So this guy also runs Orange Wheel. Shinadachi, but he's old. He's not a driver anymore. He's more of a designer. So this guy I told is like a purely 8 scale driver. At least that's what I last saw him. He also drives Orange Wheels, but 8 scale. But then for 10 scale, there's this other guy, the Orange Wheel guy. This guy's name I can't remember. It's hard to remember, not because these guys aren't good, but because these guys race so like
very few,
so rarely here. Like, and it's not sort of in our spotlight often. So yeah,
that's exactly what Benjamin's saying.
Yeah, so I think that the guy who runs 10 scale for Yokomo, who
Yusaki
finished,
or something like
third.
that.
Oh yeah, Yasaki or Yusaki Sugiura. I remember last name was Sugiura.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You
so this guy,
that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm at least close. The Japanese pronounce sort of similar to the Finnish. At least in some sense, but yeah. So that guy who finished third at the Worlds in 2-wheel drive. So if he started 8 scale, I bet he could be good. Power
can still wheel
none
too.
Of these, no, not really anymore. Like he's like he's okay.
Was you beating Power at your RCGP?
I can't remember. I think I at least in Manila I was beating him. I can't remember in Asti. But I think like he's just a guy who he's not like, his attitude is not like I'm gonna go to Worlds and win. He's like, I just need to, like, this is my job and I hang out and make fun doing this. But yeah, I think Naoto is the only one from Asia who can be sort of a Worlds, like if any driver from Asia is going to win the Worlds in the next 2 Worlds, it's going to be Naoto.
Okay, good stuff. All right, so we got a question from our Discord. If you guys haven't joined our NNRC Discord, there's a link in the written description. We're almost at 400 members. Lots of discussion. So this is from D70 Racing. When you go to a track, especially one you haven't been to, how do you go about choosing a tire? What drives your choice? Or even more importantly, what do you bring with you for a selection of tires?
Yeah, there was another question which was sort of connected to this, so I can actually read it out as well.
Was it rim
yeah,
flex?
So, huh?
Okay, that's the next question.
Oh, no. So this guy asked, I've been racing outdoor off-road for about a year in the Southeast Charlotte area, still struggling with the tire tread choices and compound choices. And there doesn't seem to be any guide or recommendation. And it'll be great to have something that says go this way when there's weight room, and like basically a guide for tires.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely agree. I think this is sort of would make it a lot easier. But I'm gonna try to answer as sort of broadly as I can so that I cover all grounds. But like this is very specific. So you can be in like South Carolina in SMB and Easley. They have slightly different dirt, but they're both sort of like red South Carolina dirt. Or you can be in like or like California at like Thunder Alley, and not the same stuff works the same. Even though both are Lomi, both have similar grip level. You can drive the car in the same setup, but like for some reason in the East Coast, the J Concepts tire just work, in my opinion, better. They work good in the West Coast as well. In the East, especially, you can feel the J Concept tire work better. And events like PMB and these indoor events, this effect is just even bigger. So that's what makes this very difficult. So what I do if I go to a new track, generally I try to ask someone who I know from the track, who has visited the track, what did they run. If that's not possible, then I've always been in the situation where I've run a single brand. So I always, when I start running this brand, I test every tire out and test this out on different conditions. So I kind of know how these tires handle. Sometimes it's not actually the best to drive a tire that everybody else runs at this track because they think it's the best tire. Sometimes it's the best to run the tire that drives the way you want to drive the car. So oftentimes people would be running reflexes or stalkers, but I don't like how the stalkers felt. I felt the reflexes pushed a lot. So I picked something else. Sometimes I picked Triple D, sometimes I picked Cosmos, depending on how abrasive the track was. Cosmos is sort of a bigger bit tire, close to like Alaska from Hot Race, or Impact or Blockade from AKA or Proline. So, and Triple D is obviously a small pin tire. So that's something to first think, like find the tire you like the most. Like generally what you have to do is go to an abrasive track, test tires, see what you like the most. Go to a low track, low grip track, test tires, see what you like the most, and then find those tires which you prefer the most. Then compound wise, I personally always prefer to run stiffer compound than other people, because stiffer compounds generally produce more forward traction. They don't balloon as much, the pin is stiffer, so when you have drive, it sticks to the ground better. Sideways traction, you might sometimes actually you have better sideways traction often with the softer tire. But this is also a preference you need to know. Like other guys are running super softs. Do you think you'd be better off with a soft? Perhaps. I always was, so I always did that. And those are the type of things that I think are the most important. So you understand what the tires you have will do, and then you just stick to that. That's most of the time the most important thing. If that's not possible for you, or if you just run any tire you can get a hand of, you just want to find the best tire for the new track, generally what you want to do is Lomi or low grip, small pins. Like, okay, in general, just like if you can run small pins, like the wear isn't bad, always run small pins. Always. Like no excuses, no, like not even like not even like, okay, impacts maybe have better forward traction, or impact maybe have better side by the, or like Cosmos or Reflex, they're more like calm. Or Cosmos isn't more calm, but Reflex is more calm, Cosmos is more sort of direct. No, most of the time, almost exclusively, if you can run a small pin, you will be the fastest on a small pin. If the track is wet or loamy, so that the loam isn't like roost, like some West Coast tracks at times can be, always small pin. That's just my sort of take on this. If the track is abrasive, you're struggling with tire wear, then for a more reactive car, more sort of precise car, you want to go with big pin tires like the Cosmos from J Concepts, or Alaska from Hot Race, or actually from Hot Race, the Alaska seems to be very calm to drive. So perhaps the Amazonia is better from the Hot Race tire range. They have the other one. I don't know if it's called Miami or something, but I think that's.
I don't know. I'm not very familiar with the brands.
So Proline sort of like blockades or stuff. I haven't run Proline in a while, so I don't really know specifically what they run. And then like there's the other range for picking for abrasive tracks, which is sort of the more mellow tires like Detox from J Concepts. Proline has a tire that is similar to this, but I don't know what it's called. J Concepts also has the, I don't know if it's called the diamond bar or something. It's like diamonds, the tire.
That's Proline as diamond bar.
Okay, so but J Concept has the tire that has like diamonds, the whole thread.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know what that's called.
Well, maybe that is J
So,
Concepts. I'm confused.
yeah, I never ran it, but some people like it when it's like when you have to calm down the car. AK have enduros. The catapults sometimes do that too. The catapults are a bit more aggressive. They have more round profile, but they calm down the car in a weird way where the car is sort of calm, but when you drive it aggressively, it's good. So it's a weird mix. Enduros are more balanced all around. So those from AK are pretty good on high abrasive tracks. So that's mostly
It's a
for
hard question, dude.
American tracks. Yeah.
I
So
would say
in Europe, in most of the times you run hot race, like Southern Europe, you run hot race Amazonia, J Concept Stalkers, and Proline. I don't know if they run the Fugitive Lights or if they run something. I don't really know what they run on those type of tracks, but like hot race Amazonia, aka Zips or Double Downs. Pro Circuit has the similar tire. I don't know the name, but it has a similar, like very thin, like closed spin tire. And what am I forgetting? Yeah, J Concept Stalkers or Blockers. Yeah, that's for basically anything below Germany. Apart from, okay, anything below Austria, and in Southern Europe, if it's an abrasive track, that's what you're mostly gonna run. Nowadays, there seems to be people using more oil or additives on the track surface, so the seismic tires can work good as well. They do have good tires for some abrasive surface as well. So I don't really know. I have never run seismic like well, I did some like 10 years ago, but they were very different back then.
yeah, very different.
But basically, there's like as you can see here, like I'm going through a lot of tires here, like, and you like if you wanted to have this sort of arsenal, like that's not worth it. Like it really isn't. So what you want to do is find sort of which races you normally go to, which tracks, find which tires you sort of like in general. So you want to pick sort of one abrasive track tire, one sort of smooth, like low me, a bit dusty track tire, and then you want to pick something sort of like indoor tire, which generally most brands just have one tire. From AK, it's Typos. From J Concepts, they have the Octagon. I'm not sure the name. I ran it once. It was pretty good.
The
And, yeah, I don't know.
Eclipses times.
Oh, Eclipse, yeah.
Ellipse.
Ellipse, yeah. That's the name. Yeah. But that's in my opinion the way to go. Now, as I've gone on now for 10 minutes about buying sets of tires that cost $50 a set, like MSRP, instead of you going and buying all those tires, you should call your local race organizer and tell him like, hey, what if we did spec tire races at this track? Everyone buys the same tires. You don't have the tire game. We switch the brand around so all brands can get some, getting the action. So like smaller brands don't die out. The racing is much more simple. You don't have the tire game. You don't have to spend so much money. You just come in, have the set of tires. Everyone has fun. Everyone's on a fair ground. And make sure that it's done so that all brands get represented, so that brands don't die out. So cool. Yeah, you can pick your battles here, but I picked the latter.
It's difficult, but I like the idea. Just have your own specific tire that you like for those certain conditions.
Yeah, that's what I did most of the time. I mean, there were cases where I went to an event and nothing worked. Like, for example, like Manila, like I never liked detox, but for this race, I had to run it. I tried different stuff, but I just had to run it, and in the end, it worked out fine. I did like the detox, like when I just got used to it. The detox is very heavy tire as well, so the weight of the tire affects the handling a lot. So small pin tires are very light as well, so the car feels lighter. You're more one with the car. It doesn't feel as lazy. Yeah, so there were some events where I just had to run a tire that was that race, like Ellipsis when I went to Springsteen, and the detox in Manila, and then a few times I had to run reflexes, But at the end of the year, when I stopped racing for J concepts at the end of 2019. So at the end of the year, I figured running Triple D's front and reflex rear was actually really good for me. So that was sort of the balance. If you like both tires, but other one's too aggressive, which is usually the Triple D's, and other one's too pushy, which is the reflex, and you should combine it, Triple D's front, reflex rear, or for all the J concepts drivers, that's a great thing to do.
Sweet. Thank you. Great questions. 2 questions in one go. It took 15 minutes though. Next questions, because we only got 2 more questions. We're gonna wrap these up. And Pedro Patrice Costa, rim flex and assembly compliance effect in toe and camber. Pretty please. Do not go 15 minutes in science mode.
Yeah,
in this.
I was thinking like, hey, should I prepare for this question because this is very complicated, and because I haven't like tested this out. Like I haven't tested like how this actually affects physically the car. I have tested stiffer wheels and wheel stiffness and such, and I know how it handles on track. But I don't really know the theory behind how this works. Like,
no, he's saying the effect in toe and camber.
Yeah, but basically what it is like how it handles on track, basically.
Okay.
Because like the flex of the wheel will affect toe and camber. But like I don't know like why it does what it does on track. And generally I don't really feel this effect at all. So generally stiffer wheels in general just like dull out the car a bit. If you do the wheel, like if you stiffen up the wheels with a wheel stiffener, I don't know if it's the added weight or just the stiffening, but the car feels a lot more heavy, like I explained with the detox, so that you have the heavy feel on the car, but at the same time it also calms down the car. Generally, if it's very low grip, you want to have a soft wheel. If it's very high grip, it's easier to drive with a stiff wheel, but sometimes you do lose a little bit of grip. I think the wheel isn't the thing you should focus on. You should focus on the tire and the insert and make sure that's fine. For tire manufacturers, they should be the one doing this stuff like with the wheels, because it's hard to test properly. I'm not gonna give a long answer to this. I could go on for
please.
I don't think this is at this point we have gone for half an hour and 2 questions. I don't think that's the main thing of it. Stiffer wheels for higher grip tracks, soft wheels for lower grip tracks. I think that's a good rule of thumb.
All right. I don't know who asked this next question, but he asked, hey, go into detail on narrow pivot, long arm versus long pivot, short arm, along with hubs up versus hubs down.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was actually, probably a mistake we do this week. It is another long one. I try to condense this. So okay, which way was it? Was it wide pivot, short arm, narrow pivot, long arm?
Narrow pivot, long arm, long pivot, short arm.
Yeah. So on the inside. So basically what happens is the wider pivot, and wider pivot itself makes the sort of roll motion of the car softer. So imagine like on the top of the tower, if you move the arms out, it stiffens up the car because of the geometry, how it works. I'm not going to explain it this time, maybe save us some other time for it. And on the bottom, if you narrow it, it stiffens it up. If you widen the pivot, it softens it down. So you have sort of that sort of effect here. Now, what it does with the short arm then is it sort of fights against that a bit. With short arm, you have more rapid movement in camber gain. So in camber gain, you can make the car so that it has a lot more grip if you drive it harder, which makes it sort of feel it's a bit stiffer. And also the shock movement and all that will be a bit different. So you have to sort of set the car up very differently, and you have to have a very sort of very mellow shock package. You can't make the car very aggressive because this sort of short arm makes it aggressive on its own. Then the roll of the car with the wide pivot is soft. So these sort of mix together. On the upper sort of link, it's easier to like understand, because if you go wider, the link is also shorter. So these sort of effects work together at the same time, And if you go like narrower, obviously the car is softer, and also the tire angle change is smaller, so the feel of the car stays more consistent. And basically what that means, it makes it feel softer. Or makes it feel it has like more consistent grip. So that's sort of like, basically in the lower arm it works the opposite way. Like they kind of fight each other. I think the wider pivot has been now proven to not work, because the Mugen who kind of invented it, I believe, I don't know if Lozi was first or if Mugen was first, but either way, both have now gone to narrow pivot. So I think that myth is kind of busted. I think the range is about 50, well, let's say 48 to 55. I think that range, if you are like in that range, you're probably around the right point in the rear. I do prefer the narrow pivot a bit better. I think it introduces a bit more trust in the car due to the longer arm. But the wide pivot can be very good if it's not as wide as the old Mugen. I think as wide as you should go is the current like Mugen and associated cars. It gives you more sort of, it's hard to sort of describe it, but you have sort of more feel on the car on higher speed, on especially on higher grip. You feel this when you have the wider pivot. When it rolls softer, it rolls smoother. You can sort of feel a bit better, and that's why I think Ongaro especially excels at these tracks, because like the wide pivot helps him there. And same with like pretty much any like car with the wide pivot. But yeah, I think that's sort of the specific point where the wide pivot is better, and then more slow speed, more bumpy, more low me, narrow is always better. And that's why you see Tekno do really well at Silver State, where they have crazy narrow pivots. In my opinion, too narrow. They have very specific parts where they can be good, as they're shown in Silver State, sometimes even at DNC, but DNC has been a bit more iffy for them. Silver State specifically is a very good race for that car. I think they could make it a lot better, even having those narrow pivots. But in my opinion, if you are a car designer, you want to go a bit wider, so you have more of an all-around car instead of a sort of specific build car.
Got you. What about hubs up versus down? Real quick. Yes, that too.
Yeah. So hubs up is sort of, so that has the force from when the car rolls through the linkages to the bottom of the tire, so the tire that's touching the ground. So that sort of transfer of force, when the hub is higher up, the arm is then will be sort of, okay, so this is the arm pushing the tire here. So if you raise the hub, essentially what you're doing is you're lowering the arm on the outside. So now this arm is pushing the tire more close to the bottom, instead of having the hub down and tire being more balanced like this. There's less of like straight force like on the tire here. So basically that's how it works. So having the hub high will have you more force straight to the tire through the lower arm, meaning the car won't want to sort of roll over the tire, want to push the tire to the side. Having the hub lower, straighter, the arm is straighter, it wants to sort of roll the car, or be gentle on the tire, or more gentle on the tire under roll. So basically what this means is you have the car will be rolling a bit more when the hub is low, will give you quite a bit of more grip. Also, it will affect forward traction a bit positively when you have the hub low. But then the higher hub gives you sort of more flat car. It gives you a little bit of slide in the rear. And yeah, that's, you could gain a bit of corner speed by doing that. In my experience, it's always better to run it quite low. Actually like 12 to like 13, 14. So that range probably is the best range. So that from the axle to the attachment point to the outer, the hub hinge pin, that to the axle, that measurement, I think it's around 12 to 14 millimeters. That's sort of, in my opinion, all the cars we have now, that's sort of the point or the range you want to be at. If you go more, I don't like it. I personally haven't ever liked it.
Sweet. Awesome. Some good questions. Not too many this week, but good ones.
Not too many, but I thought I'd be sort of be short, but we're already going almost.
You're never short. You're never short.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody that sent us the questions. We greatly appreciate them. We probably are not going to have a section like this for a couple weeks now, so that's probably the last time we're going to have some questions. But if you have some questions, you can always go in the Discord. Max is always active on there. You have an Arrogant Max. Change that to Homeless Arrogant Max. And remember, guys, we have an affiliate link for Beach RC. Thank you to Beach RC for providing us, sponsoring this long time and one of the, I would say, listener favorite sections. Check them out. Use that affiliate link. Thank you to Beach and thank you to Brent, Lucas, and those guys. And I think we're going to move on to our main interview now. And we'll be back for a little bit of a rant and the conclusion. All right, Max?
Yeah, man.
Techno RC. Techno RC is a premium manufacturer specializing in 8th and 10th scale high-performance off-road RC buggies and trucks. Visit www.technorc.com for a complete catalog of their products. Techno RC. Excellence in engineering. #Techno Takeover.
Joining me this week, he had a good performance. I actually had you on as one of my biggest winners, kind of. Like, you won really at first, and then you didn't win at first, but you still won. Like, in a way, you still, a 5th place coming out of that race was really good. He is the 2021 UK national champion. We've talked about him and his brother a few times on the podcast. I've got at it with your dad online a few times too. So, but I do have a new respect for you, old man. And we do have some good chats now and then. Cool. I'd like to welcome 2021 UK national champion, Jonni Skidmore. What's up, dude? How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Congratulations on 5th. It would have been, I think it should have been 3rd, kind of, but it ended up being 5th. So you still, but let's be honest, you guys were like in qualifying, like a lot of guys off pace. Not just you guys, it was a lot of big names off pace. I thought I was expecting big things out of you guys, but I understand not going to the warm up and all that type of stuff. But hey, you came out of it with a 5th. Congratulations! I think that's great. I was looking forward to a very good semi A final at Montpellier, but we didn't get it. So welcome to the show, man. Tell everybody, how old are you and where are you located?
I'm 22 years old and I live in Leeds, which is I live in Wakefield, which is like 20 minutes from Leeds in the UK.
Mm-hmm. I've been to Leeds before.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool place.
Yeah. All right. So, like I said, we've talked about you and your brother for a couple of times on this podcast. I always have to, I know your dad used to race, but how did this all start for you and your brother? And how was it when your dad was racing and you guys were like young lads?
Well, I mean, like you said, obviously my dad raced since he was 15 years old, something like that. So obviously he was the one who got us into it. We started going to the local club and stuff when we were like 6-7 years old. Just like a really small AstroTurf track. It was actually initially designed for 5th scale cars, but it was like 5 minutes down the road. So we used to just go there, just bash around. My dad was pretty good, but obviously as we start to get better and beat him and all that sort of stuff, basically stepped to one side and started doing all the mechanicking work for me and my brother, and that's basically how it all started.
So how good was your dad? Did he raced a lot, like he did all the national series, and did he race 10 scale and 8 scale, or how did it? Well,
the thing with my dad is he did all of the classes really. He won a national in 8 scale nitro. Never got the championship, but he won one national.
Okay, hey, that's a feat.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not too easy. He won. I mean, not one. He did some 5th scale on road. Did the worlds and stuff in all these classes. He was never right at the top, but he went and did pretty well. So obviously
he's well experienced. He knows what he's talking about in RC, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the biggest thing we have now is obviously my dad with all the knowledge and stuff and the mechanicking. He never had that. He had to do it all himself, basically. And as you know, starting off yourself and trying to do it all without any knowledge is never going to be easy. So it must have been difficult for him, to be fair.
Yeah, and transferring all in, like don't make the mistakes he made. You guys you got that. At about what age did you guys start to beat him?
I mean, we was probably about 9 or 10, something like that. Really, when you're young, you pick it up pretty quick, and obviously he was only getting older. So,
was it like destiny? Was this destiny for you guys? Like, was this what you was into from a kid, going to races with him, or were you guys into other sports and stuff?
Well, I mean, we played a little bit of football, but I was never, if I was going to a race and football was on, I was always choosing the racing. I've always wanted to do it, and it's comes first in my life, really. So.
How about your brother? Was he as eager as he is? Is he as eager as you?
He is deep down. He doesn't show it as much, I think. But, the hunger is definitely there for him to, go to the races and do very well. Do the best he can.
Is he there with you?
He's actually not. I'm at my girlfriend's at the minute.
Okay. Because, honestly, I know he gets pushed to the back sometimes because everybody remembers you. I guess it's because you're named after your dad, and it's just like, okay, we always remember you as Jonni. And then and then William did pretty good as actually this past weekend as well. So maybe we'll have him on at a later date. So you guys,
that'd be cool.
Yeah. So you guys are straight in, like 9, 10 years old. What are you racing? 10 scale or 8 scale?
It was straight into 8 scale. I mean, we do 10 scale now, and we always have done really, but the main class was 8 scale. And my first car was a Hyper 7.
Really?
Yes,
I used to have. Did I have Hyper 7? No, but I had the 9.5, the Hong Nord.
Yeah, the Hong Nord. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, so you guys have been around for a minute. So y'all around about Max's age too. I didn't realize that. I thought you was a little older or a little younger. But same age group. Probably been racing about the same amount of time. About 10 years now, I would say 10, 12 years.
Roughly, yeah.
Okay. So aside from your father, who was one of or a group of people that were influential to you, or was there a racer that you emulated that you wanted to drive like, or who did you admire coming up as a young racer?
I mean, to be honest, in the UK, I've always liked Neil Cragg. I think he's pretty cool. I like how he, portrays himself. It's difficult to be how he is because he's so calm with it all, and it can be difficult at times. But then on the other hand, I also think Mayfield's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. I like how different he is to Neil. He's quite pretty fiery, passionate about it. I think that's also pretty cool. So yeah, those two I'd say. Yeah,
and both are fast. You know what I mean?
Both are pretty good. Yeah,
both are world champions. So they're good pick. And Neil's been to do this. This isn't his full-time job as well. So to do as well as he done and not be a full-time racer, it's very good. All right.
I mean, with Neil, he doesn't seem to do any practice at all, and just turns up and is instantly difficult to beat.
I know, it's like skinny people who could eat whatever they want, and then I eat a donut and I gain 10 pounds right off the bat. I
am one of those. I can eat pretty much anything. I don't
see you lucky bastards. You lucky bastards.
I know.
Sweet. So yeah, you came up in that age. I mean, who doesn't admire Mayfield's driving and his punched cool. And then when he gets upset, you can see his anger come out in his racing and his driving as well. All right. So what was it? When did you guys realize, okay, maybe we're getting better at this. This is something that we want to do. Maybe pursue it to another level. Who was your first sponsors and all that stuff like that? Obviously, people know you through your dad as well. Did that help? I assume it does help a little bit, but also you guys earn it, right?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit it'll help for sure. I mean, our first sponsor was with Nemo Racing. We were with them for a good 7-8 years, something like that.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, since I was maybe 11 or 12 up till up till 2019, I think. Yeah. So yeah, a good while. Mostly my dad knew John Hazelwood, who's the main man. So that's how that ball got rolling. Yeah, so my dad definitely helped with all that stuff. But also, as you start to go to the races and getting to the semis and at the nationals and then making the back end of the finals when you're pretty young, people start to see and you start to think, maybe we can go somewhere with this and try to get some good results out of it. So I was probably 12, 13, something like that when I thought, I'm not too bad at this really.
Did you remember when you made your first final? National final?
To be honest with you, I don't. I remember when I got my first podium. I don't remember the first day final.
Okay. When was your first podium? Do you remember? You do. Well, how old were you?
I think I was 14, something like that.
Okay.
It was at the Hearts track, where they had the Euros B in 2015. I don't know if you know the track.
I know Hearts. I've been there.
All right, really?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so it was that one.
Yeah, and also you and your brother were part of that UK group of young guys that were fast to you. Had maybe they're a little bit older than you, like Jack Embling. What was that other kid? Is Callum Nisbet still running?
Callum Niblett, yeah, he still races. He just races in the UK, and basically, to be honest, he's very fast. I don't think he's got he doesn't seem to be too, bothered about the actual results side of things. I mean, I'm sure he is, but he's, like these weekends through the winter, he's out with his friends partying and stuff, which is also, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's at that age too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, also, But
I met him when he was like 13. He's like up on his own at Maritime.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, go on.
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you, but you was just a part of it. Like there were some fast young English guys coming up, and a lot of them did go. Like Emlyn went off and partied, and he living his life and all that type of stuff. I'm trying to think of a couple of other guys from that era. Boots was just a little bit outside of that era too.
Yeah,
he's like a little older than you guys.
Good, I think he's like 5 or 6 years older than us at the minute. Maybe even more than that, something like that. There's Jamie Clancy who still races.
Yes, Clancy, that's who it was.
There was Ollie Curry as well. I don't know if you remember the name.
I remember.
He was pretty quick. And also Lewis Beach, who those two have retired now. They've stopped racing. But all those guys were all competing week in, week out, trying to beat each other, which I think helps push you on.
Yeah. Well, you guys are sticking it out. I didn't realize you was with Nemo for so long. Yeah. That's a long time to be with a chassis. I think it was shocking to see you guys leave. I think you left after 2019. You had a good. I remember at Montpellier. Was it 2019 or 2020 when you guys left?
2020. It was 2020, just before COVID.
Right. Yes, because you guys did well at Montpellier, I believe. Yep. You made the main.
Yes.
I think there was some. I don't know. There was some kerfuffle over tires or something, or I don't know what happened there. What's going on?
Well,
can we talk about it?
Yeah, we can. I mean, it wasn't too much of a kerfuffle, really. We just we was at the race and we was on the beta tires, which are awesome in some conditions.
Yeah, but you need those seismics for that.
Well, this was just as they'd sort of come into play, really, when people were on them, and you could noticeably see they had more grip than anything else, like you could this past weekend when people were running other things. And basically, we'd spent all this money to go to this race meeting, as we do with any other race meeting, basically we just wanted to put them on. We spoke about it, and it was fine. But to be honest, I think the reason we left, it was sort of time for just a fresh start and a new change. Anyway, really, it wasn't too much to do with that. We didn't really fall out over it. I was just ready for something different. So
yeah, that makes sense too. Completely different. Over to a pillowball car. Over to Mugen. Yep. You had a good 2 years, I think, with that.
Yes.
Winning the 2021 championship last year, because you guys didn't race in 2020. Did no national series, I believe.
That's right.
Competitive series. I've always believed in having a series to determine a national champion. You guys do it right over there in the UK. You have some serious competitors in this series. You got you got your brother Elliot Boots comes over, Neil Craig when he feels like it, Lee Martin, Clancy, the Lewis brothers. They're like we're talking about a high class of racing right here. And I think all these guys are capable of doing well at any main and like when I say well, quarters and forward at any major event. Tell us about your 2021 season. We kind of got a world of this when it came down. I know you guys raced on a lot of oil tracks. It came down to, I think you guys. Tell us about it, because how many did you win actually in this? How many races were there, and how many did you win, and how did it work out?
There's 5. It's a 5-round series, spread across obviously the whole country. And I won 2. I won 3 of them altogether. 3 out of the 5.
Okay.
It could have been 4. Probably should have been 4, but I broke down at the last one.
Okay.
But that's racing. That happens. Luckily, the last round didn't actually matter because I managed to wrap it up the round before.
Right. So that's good.
It helps a lot.
That's good.
But yeah, it is good. But yeah, with a series like that, like a national series, you've got to just try to keep your results as consistent as you can. Obviously,
that's why I like
Elliot. Yeah, like Elliot was fast. Neil was very fast as well. But sometimes they'd have a round where they break down or have a few mistakes in the main and not be there. you've got to just try keep the ball rolling the whole way through. Really,
it's not who finishes. It's not the first to. Sorry, how does it go? In order to finish first, you must first finish. That's how it
correct.
goes.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
So I know I've been there myself. So coming from the Agama to the Mugen, what were some of the changes that you like? I mean, it's like you guys were like instantly like good with it. It seemed like.
I mean, the car just worked, to be honest. It's, obviously they've been around a long time. It's the same with the Xray. They've been around a long time. They're just, they know what they're doing. Not that the Agama was a bad car, because it wasn't,
Right.
But I think sometimes just a fresh change was the most important thing, Okay. I think if I'd have gone from another car to an Agama, it had possibly still been an improvement, just because it's something fresh, new fires ignited.
Right, I can see that. I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. But, obviously the car's very good as well.
Yes. Okay, so you guys, there was some tire drama with your win too. That's one thing. I love your old man for that. And when he would have something on his mind, he does not hold back whatsoever. So when this came out and we was talking about it, it's funny now. It's like on the opposite end of the. Yeah. It's like now Nemo had the seismic tire. Was it Nemo had the seismic tires at this time, or how did it work?
What do you mean? Sorry, say that again.
What was it over? That some tires were not available for public sale.
There's a rule in the BRCA rule book, which obviously the people that run our national series, there's a rule that says you've got to run a tire that's commercially available.
Okay.
And I mean, whether it's true or not, we don't totally know. But there was pretty solid rumors going around that one of the Nemo drivers was using a tire that you couldn't get a hold of. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, he won the final by a lap.
Yeah, because this was on the oil tracks. I think it was wet too. So this tire works specifically for wet, oily tracks.
It was the excess that all the Six-Mick guys were using at Montpellier this past weekend.
Really?
Yeah, it seems to be. I mean, it didn't seem to have as much of an advantage at Montpellier as it did at that race. It was weird. I think the conditions are so specific for the Six-Mick tire, but when you get it right in that window, it's unbeatable sometimes. So.
All right, but aside from all of that, you guys still ended up winning the series.
Yeah.
You're a national champion. Where did your brother finish?
He finished fourth in the end. Elliot was second. He was going into the last round in a battle for third with Bloomfield. And he had a DNF, unfortunately.
Oh man, so, too bad.
But yeah, it's one of them things that can happen. So.
Too bad. All right. So I was shocked when you left Mugen earlier last year, their silly season last year. I was like, oh, everybody was like, oh, they're going to HB. I thought you was going to HB or maybe to Associated or something, something crazy. But HB was the strong rumor, and then obviously people started. Oh, I saw them. They got X-rays, and So Xray, man, I have to give Xray a lot of credit. They have come out in 2022 and like, hey, we're racing internationally. We're sending big teams everywhere. They got you and your brother in the UK. They got a bunch of decent, fast Portuguese guys. They got the Baldo brothers. Massive team at Montpellier this past weekend. Massive team at Snowbirds. Like, they are just going crazy, like full on. What prompted you guys to go to Xray, and how are you liking it so far?
Well, I mean, the car itself is awesome. It's pretty good. I've done very little running with it, obviously, because I only really got going in January. The first time on a high oil grip track was actually at the Montpellier race. Okay. Obviously, the weather in the UK is terrible this time of year. So I've been running mostly 10 scale, really.
Okay.
But we joined. There was a few reasons, really. Obviously, the Mugen thing was difficult, with the deal and stuff. It's not about that really, but it does play a factor.
Yes.
And then obviously me working at MB Models and stuff, like obviously we was trying to get all of the Mugen and stuff, and it was pretty difficult to sell.
Okay.
So they was like, oh, what about running Xray, this, that, and the other? And we're pretty good. We're pretty close with the distributor of Xray in the UK, which is RC Disco. So we basically just got the ball rolling, and it all went from there. Went out, tested the car, straight away, thought it was awesome. Was matching lap times with the Mugen, pretty much straight away, which is promising. So yeah, that's where it all started.
How has been communication with the rest of the team? Who's been a big help with getting you guys up to speed?
Well, I've been speaking to Benh quite a bit. He's pretty helpful. Like in the the Montpellier GP race, we was working with all the guys, Bruno, Baldos, Montero, Max as well, Max Gertz, so it was pretty quick.
Was Bayer there?
Bayer was pitting for Bruno.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all, all of them are really helpful. It's a good place to be fair. It seems really professional as well, which is nice.
It seems like the European guys that get on there, they stay for a long time.
What with the Xray stuff?
Yeah.
You don't see many people leave Xray. It's just a nice place to be. It's professional. They're always helping you. How you order things and stuff through the B2B system's easy. All the stuff's in stock whenever you need it. It just works.
Yeah, good stuff. When will be your first real race on UK soil with the new car?
Well, the first big race, I think maybe the Nemo GP Easter weekend.
Okay.
Unless there's a national before that. There may be a 1/8 electric national before that.
Right.
But that'll be the first pretty big one. So
sweet. That'd be a good race to watch Easter too. I hope they have full coverage there at that race.
I think they will have.
Oh, good. I hope they get RC Racing TV in there. That'd be great.
They did that for the national. They do a pretty good job. I like it when them guys.
They do a banging job.
They do.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about Montpellier. You guys go to this race. How many times have you been there?
Probably 4 times, something like that.
What is it about this race that attracts you guys over there?
Well, I mean, it's the first one of the season. It's the first big race of the season, really. Obviously, all the top guys are there. The track's awesome. The weather's usually pretty good.
It's usually cold.
It's usually cold, but it's usually not too... It's like a different kind of cold over in France compared to like the UK. There's always less wind and stuff like that. But, it does rain sometimes, but they always do a pretty good job with the sawdust and stuff soaking the weather up. So it's usually just... It's a good consistent rate, to judge yourself against all the top guys, see how you're looking for the season, really.
So how did you guys went over there on like brand new cars, not even really any. So how did
brand new?
You guys? So this is a very good result for you then, even more like
I mean, I was, to be honest with you, even with the qualifying result, like I was on the back foot from the start, obviously missing the warm up, and then because I made the final 2 years ago, I was in the top 8.
Okay.
So obviously all these guys had been to the warm up, so I went out on lap 1 trying to run with them. Obviously, it was a little bit slower and hit a curb and broke my arm on the first lap. So I missed the practice, and then my first practice was the seeding round. So I was learning the track and seeding. So then I was seeded into a pretty low heat. So I was kind of always like a little bit behind throughout the whole weekend. So the rain actually helped me a little bit.
Yeah, it helped you. It helped Coelho out. It helped a lot of. It went from like one Xray guy possibly in the final to 5.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It was mad. It leveled the field down a little bit, obviously with all the track time that the people have had, and we also had a pretty strong tire in the wet, which helped. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, what tires did guys go out there on that wet stuff?
Well, I think the majority of the air final in the end were running M4 slide lock.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
No, was it just too? Was it just gonna? Was it the no sunshine? The rain wasn't gonna stop at all.
To be honest with you, I mean, it was a difficult one. That I think it's more safety of marshals was the reason I had to stop it because of the oil, and it is really slippery.
Right.
There was no puddles on the track.
Nothing.
It wasn't underwater. It was just wet.
Yeah.
And it was raining pretty heavy. We did like a couple of drivers' meetings and stuff to make votes, and the majority of people always voted to race. But I guess you've got to just in the end think about people's safety and stuff, which it is what it is. I mean, at this point after the semis, I was happy for him to call it.
It was like it's like one group is really happy.
Yeah.
So how were they? Okay, so just so I'm clarified, so Max explained how the scoring went. So what was the other group jockeying for it to just be in the order how it finished?
Well, I think, to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure how they did it. I know in the UK, basically, it doesn't matter what type. One could have a dry track and one could have a totally wet track, and that is what it is.
Right.
So in the UK, I would have been third.
Right. Okay.
Instead of just because if it rains, it rains. That's life. Sort of thing. But I think they did it basically. It went off. I think it went off. So first in the A semi and first in the B semi, it went off who qualified higher.
Really?
I think so. I think that's. I was speaking to Barufalo about it, and I'm pretty sure that's how he explained it.
Well, I guess okay, but Ruffalo finished what, second in his semi?
Second behind Ongaro.
Okay, yeah. So, man, Ongaro just seems to find a way to win, even when it's not that fast. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
I mean, the Proline tire was pretty good. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, you went from third to fifth. I think you should be happy with that. Where did Will finish?
He got 12th in the end, so he was 6th in his semi.
Yeah, I think the biggest Xray winner was Coelho. He went from
it was. I mean, he drove well. To be fair, he did do good. He had the pace to be even higher than he was. He just made a few errors in his semi-final.
That's amazing, man. He doesn't even really race 8 scale much.
No, he did good. He's got some talent for sure.
All right. So good race. I look forward to it. I know some people are upset with the result. Some are happy. That's how it's always going to be. It was a little bit not as well run as I thought it was from our standpoint, from a viewer standpoint. We was very lost. Like, what are they doing? Like, we didn't know what they were doing at some point.
We were lost. I had no idea what was going on either half of the time.
Yeah, and even the guys I was talking to, they're like, we don't know what's going on. I'm like, I don't know either. But it got going. By the time they got going Saturday with the qualifying and stuff like that, it was pretty good. I was like, oh, great, we're going to have this great race. Now, just for clarification, when you guys went there in 2020, they didn't oil the track? They used like sugar water or something?
Sugar or something like that. It definitely weren't. The grip was lower, 100%. It was not oil. I don't know what they used, to be honest, but it definitely wasn't oil.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I don't personally mind the oil tracks. I think it's a good idea. I mean, when it rains, it can be difficult, but it stops it from getting muddy at least. It's a little bit wet, but it's still you can drive better around an oil track than you could at like a total mud bath track.
Right. Like Ongaro was doing like just full drifts around everything, looking so good.
It's not even that. It's still pretty enjoyable if you've got the grip. You're on the right tire. I mean, if you're on a tire and it's totally shocking and you're getting lapped every 2 laps, then I can understand the frustration with it 100%. But it's still racing. It's a low grip track. It's good fun. Sometimes you go to Padova in the winter time and the grip's really low. It's not too much. It's not too much higher grip at Padova than it was in the wet at Montpellier sometimes.
Right, and that's all dusty type of grip.
It's just a low grip track when it's wet. It's very low, but you can still get around.
Yeah, you know what, dude? I'm all for oil tracks, dude. I know you guys have been doing that in the UK for many, many, many years. But my buddy Zach is doing it in Australia. I know a couple of people in America that are doing it. If I was to ever build a track here again, I would do oil. Max and I constantly argue about this. He says it's bad for the environment. I say it's not because it's natural oil.
It's not that bad. Yeah, it's not that bad for them. I mean, when you think about
my argument,
you think about the size of the Earth as well. It's not. Is it really going to make any difference? There is far worse things for the environment than RC tracks with a little bit of oil on them.
But as for a club track having that, I mean, it's perfect. I think after the rain, you just go out there, sponge the
you could just sweep it off with a brush.
Yeah, crazy. I mean,
it's awesome.
And even watching the cars, they didn't get as muddy. And it was full rain coming on. There wasn't no puddles gathering, really. It was like you said, I was shocked that they called it. I was like,
yeah. I think they called it in the end because it didn't look like it was going to get any better. If it had done that for another hour, then they could have had an hour's work on the track and it would have probably been runnable. It was just because they were speaking to the airport of what they, getting an answer off them for what the weather looked like. Okay. And it didn't look like it was going to let up at any point. So I think that's the reason they had to call it, really. And obviously the marshals thing.
Well, you know what? You only dropped 2 spots. But either way, they would have scored it. You would have come out a big winner. So congratulations to you.
Sure.
I bet your dad must have been happy. He wasn't too happy because then the next day he was talking about the warm-up races. And I actually do agree with him on a lot of those too, on that. Instead of going to warm-up race, go to a different race. Or
I mean, I think with the warm-up thing, we couldn't have even gone to the warm-up if we wanted to because of the COVID situation. We weren't allowed to travel into France.
Okay.
So it's difficult, is that, because obviously the club needs to make money and all this sort of stuff. And I understand the warm-up thing, but it's definitely not the fairest way of doing things.
Not on a track like that doesn't. No, see, Max and I think that there is an advantage, but there's always going to be an advantage. But this track doesn't have any footprint change. You know what I mean?
There's
Nothing.
always an advantage, even like with the DNC, for example. Obviously that used to be a fresh track, and now it's not a fresh track. The layout's going to be different, but you test tires, you can test setup. You know exactly how the track's going to become mainstay, so you've got an advantage 100%.
We had this discussion here, Reese, just on this podcast. I don't agree with that 100% because I think DNC has a fresh layout, but I understand. Don't get me wrong. It's the same thing that the Americans say. They'll say about Redovon at the Worlds this year. You know what I mean? So,
and I agree with that. I agree with them also. The advantage gained at Montpellier will be greater than the advantage gained going practicing at DNC, but there will still be an advantage there regardless. I think it's smaller, but if you can gain an advantage, I understand. I get why people are trying to gain an advantage because it's racing. We're all competing, and we all want to beat each other. I understand it, but it's not. It's not.
Well, I would like you guys to come to the DNC. I would like more Europeans to come because I think it's just such a prestigious race, and I think that everybody should come there. I wish we still had like Neo over in the UK.
Yeah, that was an awesome race.
Yeah, where more international guys came. So I
we'll
hope
do the DNC one year for sure.
Yeah, I think everybody should do. I know it's expensive too. California's expensive, long flights. And like I know I also like Boots and those guys like the Vegas race, and I understand that too. It's so convenient, so easy to go to. Flights to Vegas are easy.
Yeah, you just get like a taxi to the hotel, and then you're literally set for the week.
Yeah, you don't even need. Yeah, you can Uber into the town if you want to go. Yeah, I understand all of that. I understand all of that.
Yeah, so do I.
I just want you guys to come over there because I'm stoking the fires of the European USA beef, and I just want I want to see some of you guys on your level come over and compete with these American guys and all that stuff. So I hope you guys do make it. And I'm kind of upset that Boots isn't going to be there and a couple of other guys, but I understand it.
I was speaking to Elliot about that actually at Montpellier, and it was, I think, the long days thing. I think of there's like 1,000 entries or however much there is now, and then you're trying to run. If we was there, my dad would be working on 6 cars.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot of work. Expensive race. Long days.
It's one of the ones. It's on the bucket list. It's awesome. It does look good.
I hope you do. I hope you do.
1 year.
All right. So as a young racer in RC, I like to get your aspect and your outlook on things. What do you think about our industry right now, and what would be some of the things you'd like to see done differently in RC, or some things that would change? You would change.
To be honest, I think the industry itself is in a pretty good place overall. I mean, the RCGP thing it looks awesome. I think it's working. It's doing the right things in RC. It's trying to promote it more, all that sort of stuff, which I think is the main thing we need to do. If we could get out into the public eye, the social media, all the social media stuff's strong, but actually out there totally like as a proper sport, I think that would blow it all up massively, which I think is important.
How did your friends take it? That your non-RC friends? Do you have non-RC friends?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, I mean, they like it. They think it's cool.
Okay.
They support it. To be honest with you, I mean, they all do their own things. I do my own thing. It is what it is. They're not bothered either way, really.
Right. That's cool. I mean, and you're at that age, dude. Like, I'm surprised you're still so dedicated. You're at that party age. But that's good. That's good to see. I know you guys have some girls in front of you. So what's up? What is on the agenda for the Skidmores this year?
Well, the next big race we've got, like a broad race, will be the e-buggy Euros at the Hoodie Arena.
Okay.
We've got Worlds warm-up, which we're doing the Worlds warm-up. Worlds.
You'd be silly not to do the Worlds warm-up.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna go and do that this year, I think. Obviously, with the Baldos running Xrays and stuff now, it's going to be helpful, definitely. I think that was a good signing by Xray, actually, getting those on.
Oh, man, I'm not going to lie. It was the best meme of 2022.
Did you see the meme?
It was so funny.
There was a meme about it.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was a good one. But, yeah, so we'll go do that one, obviously. They'll be helpful with that. And then the Euros as well at the Barcelos, Portugal, I think.
Yes, and Barcelos.
Both very high grip tracks.
Yeah, a Figueiredo's track.
Yeah.
I think that's a glue track there.
Yeah, so, but I think it's a similar surface. I've never been, but it looks like it'd be a similar grip level to Redovan.
Yeah, we'll see how. Yeah, when they sealed Redovan up, I'm seeing it unsealed too. When they I think Didn't they do like, I remember one year Redavon had some sealant on it. Or maybe I'm imagining that it did. Or maybe just got a grip.
I think they use sugar water. I think
Okay.
the last time I went there, I remember there was like a million bees all over the track.
Really? Okay, so they're probably using sugar.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
All right. So I have a question. So who pits you guys? How does your dad, who pits for you guys? Because how does your dad, you can't pit both of you, or maybe he does.
He sometimes has to, sometimes makes it work. My mum comes to the races as well.
Okay.
So she's pretty good with it now. She's picked it up pretty well.
Oh, so you're just a whole racing family.
Yeah, literally every weekend. So, but my brother's got a new mechanic this year. One of our friends we've known for a long while. He used to race a while ago. He's come back into it, started running some 10 scale, and he said he'd pick my brother at the nationals and stuff.
That's good.
Yeah,
it's always good.
Yeah, my brother he's not too keen on the, working on the RC car thing and all that sort of stuff, wrenching on him and stuff. So
who does that for? Okay, so he has the mechanic to do that.
Either my dad or his new mechanic, Benh. So.
Okay. All right. So how did your dad manage both of you in such a competitive scene as RC? Did he like just cut everything down the middle for you guys? Like if you go, kind of like the Killex. Like the Killex say, if they can't go, both can't go, they don't go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it's been. To be honest, we don't. If I can go to a race, the chances are my brother can go to it too.
Okay.
So, but yeah, everything's equal now. We're as equal as it can be. If I can't go, then we don't go. If Will can't go, then we don't go. Basically. Awesome. Unless one of us chooses specifically not to go. It's not the same when my brother's not there as well. It's more fun for us when we go all together. Do
you guys push each other?
Yeah, at the practice when we go testing and stuff, it's good to have someone who's pretty fast also to compare against. But as racing goes, we wouldn't take each other out or compete too hard. I'd always do my best to help him as he would me. So,
would you? So if you don't win, do you want to see your brother win?
Yeah, 100%. I'd be as happy for my brother to win as I would myself, to be honest.
That's good.
Sometimes even happier.
That's good. We've had some good brother teams come through RC. We had the Francis brothers. We had the Igons.
Yeah.
I think even the Sartels, are they brothers too? Or cousins or something like that?
I think cousins, actually.
Right. The Killex, you guys. It's good to see. It's hard for a family to do that, though, I think. Like two of everything. It's like having twins. You know what I mean? You got to get two of everything. So, a lot of respect to your dad and your mom. A lot of time and effort put into making sure you guys have. And it's worked. You guys are both. Okay, I would say you've probably got a little bit of an edge over your brother right now. Maybe because you take it a little bit more serious than him. Excuse me. Or I don't know. But he's still good. Like he's not too far behind you. So that's good to see. So they done their job on that case. Yeah. I'm excited to see what you do this year with Xray. I'm excited to see what Xray does, period. There's such a big squad. Wow. Like so many races.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I just saw Coelho isn't going to be able to go to DNC now.
Thing.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate.
That is a shame because I reckon he'd have done pretty well out there.
I would like to see him go out there to American race 8 scale. It'd be great.
I'm sure there'll be another time.
I'm sure. Hey, look, I'm just hoping to make it to the Worlds, and then I get to see all these guys race, and I get to see Redavon, so I'm happy about that.
Are you planning on going there then?
I hope so. I hope to be there. Hopefully, if Mar lets me in. But yeah, we'll see. Well, man, I appreciate your time. I know it's getting late over in the UK. Congratulations on your result with new result with
Thank you.
With Xray. Congratulations on your new team. I wish you and your brother all the best. Tell your dad I said what's up. He's done a good job of raising you guys and bringing you up RC wise. And tell him I wait for his next controversy because he doesn't hold back. I got to give him that. I don't agree with everything he says, but he doesn't hold back.
I think sometimes he even puts stuff on there just to get people's reaction.
I think he does that too. I think he used to get me that all the time.
He loves it. It's good fun. It's good to read. It's good fun.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, man. Good luck to everything you do this year and your career. And I hope to see you at a race. I hope to see you at the Worlds, man.
I hope to see you too. Thanks for having me on. Thank you.
Sure. Hey, do you want to say thank you to some people before you head out?
Yeah, I'll say thank you to obviously my mum, my dad, my whole family. Obviously my sponsors, specifically Xray, RC Disco, and MB Models for all their support. It means a lot. I'm very grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate your time, and good luck to you guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Cheers.
Bye-bye. All right, Max. So welcome back. I did see something that I wanted to talk about, and it kind of leads into this little bit of a rant that we have. I saw that Bruno Coelho will not make DNC this year. Unfortunately, he has the Rona, so he's not feeling too bad, but he, obviously can't fly. So it's a shame. I won't get to see him drive. Such a shame. And then I think you sent it to me, but I also heard this on the Extra Lap podcast. Shout out to those guys. They had Elliot Boots on a couple of weeks ago, and he says he's not going to DNC. And I thought he had heard what I saw, but the screenshot you showed me, and when they said they think it's an unfair advantage because obviously people out there practicing and racing beforehand and all that type of stuff, and I get that, I understand that, but it's kind of hypocrisy.
Okay.
It's kind of hypocrisy.
There's two hypocritical ways to look at this. One is this race was held at the Fear Farm for I don't know how long. That was the track was there always.
Yes.
And the other thing is this,
but not racing like this. Not racing like this.
This track was like completely new built. Like he will be doing the whole profile. Everything will be new for the race.
Yeah, there's gonna be a whole new layout.
Yeah, that's the first thing cleared, and the next thing you can go on about the next thing that it's so funny about this,
because this week we talked about this earlier on Tuesday, about warm-up races, and our thing was like, hey, warm-up races could just be other races instead of waste of money warm-up races. And the funny thing is, I get it, I get what they what Boots' old man was saying, what Boots had to say, I'm like, but hold on, you just went to the warm-up race for the Montpellier GP.
Yeah.
Right? That track didn't change at all. Nothing changed on it. And, that's kind of like calling the pot calling the kettle black right there. You know what I mean? If you ask me, hey, you just went and done I believe Boots did it. He did it, right? Before I look like a complete and total ass.
He finished third.
In the warm up,
he finished in the podium in a warm up, yeah.
So I'm just saying. So and then that brought up. He said, "Well, the only race now that people can go to, what is Silver State? This is Chris Boots' Elliot Boots' old man." And I get this sentiment that these guys have, and I don't know if they're being cynical because we always heard this from the Americans saying about European races. The Americans are saying about Red Avon,
there's some of that too, because they probably get the shit Americans don't come here, so it's annoying for them. So there's most likely there's some of that too.
Yeah,
but it's still a bit funny.
But you know what, man? I'm just so over all of this because at the end of the day, the cream always rises to the top, and the fast will be fast.
I actually made a list, so I probably remember this. But 2018 Worlds in Australia, European wins. 2016 Worlds in America, European wins. 2014 Worlds in Europe, and guess who wins?
North American wins.
Yeah, North American. 2012 South America, European wins. 2010 Asian held Worlds, and this was the home track of Atsushi Hara, who was actually the winner in 2008. So Cody King won in 2010 in Asia and American. 2008 held in America. Mike Chu, he practiced there a lot. He TQ'd everything. Atsushi Hara, a Thai-based Japanese driver, wins this race. 2006 Indonesia. Asian should be fast. Like Hara, I don't know if Hara raced this, but American won. 2004 was the only time in the last I don't know how long when an European won and European-based Worlds. And this guy was French, and the Worlds were held in Sweden. So I bet this guy never even went to this track beforehand.
And he was a long shot. He was not no one knew. He thought he was going to win it.
Yeah.
Villeman Gray.
Yeah. And 2002, Greg Degani. So maybe Degani is sort of the one we can blame this on, because he went to Punta del Este to practice with Chad Bradley and these guys for a month or 2 weeks before the Worlds happened. So maybe Degani is the only one in the last. So it's 20 years since a guy who had a home advantage or warm-up advantage, or anything you can say, actually won the race. So to me, this whole sentiment of home advantage or anything like that is silly. Because I went to tracks in America, I bet some top racers like Rivkin or Mayfield or any of these guys have never went to. So at that track, I technically have a home advantage. And I've never went to tracks in Europe, which I bet Rivkin and Mayfield and some other guys have went to, like Montpellier. I've never been to Montpellier. Mayfield has, I think, at least once, probably more than once. So
twice.
This whole sentiment of like, oh, like these guys have home advantage because they're European, or these guys have home advantage because they're American, is complete bullshit. People will always have some type of advantages, but that's how the life goes. It always like cleans up at the end when people race together. It's silly because McLaren tested every single weekday in the whole like in the 90s in Silverstone, but that was part of the F1 calendar at that time. Teams weren't like, oh, we can't race in Silverstone because McLaren tests there. No, Ferrari testing tracks in Italy. Like people have races that are their home races. Yeah, that happens. But why the hell is it like, oh, like when it's your home race, it's all good, but when it's someone else's home race, it's like, oh, so bad. And it's silly to say because the UK drivers clearly had advantage on a lot of guys at Neo because they did it every time. They have done it that race for 10 years. I went there the first time in 2017. So the UK guys had a huge advantage on me because they knew the dirt. And that's basically Chris Booth's argument here as well. So even the DXR that these guys praise, or Neo at that time, even that wasn't fair if this dirt race isn't fair. And that's like, that argument is so silly because in my opinion, there will obviously be advantages all the time. And every race there will be some guy having advantage, but that's just how it is. Some
you know what it is?
Will have it. And just like,
I'm going to say
that's just how the world works.
just going to say it. I'm just going to say it. It's because Ronald Fox out there practicing. And then Tiba and all those guys went out there this weekend. They knew all this was going to happen. So I get it. And guess what? They want to go Silver State anyway. Vegas is probably an easier race anyway. I'm just mad we ain't going to get to see Canas, Boots, and like Barton there. You know,
no,
that's
I'm
what
mad
I'm mad
that
about.
People blame, like, make these excuses that, oh, they have a home advantage. Yeah, but there's some races you have a home advantage. Like, it's if you believe there are people who have an advantage and they capitalize on it, then you make sure you have an advantage as well and you try to capitalize on it. But it's so silly that, oh, I won't go to this race because these guys have an advantage because they are American. So these guys are European, so I can go to Redovan for Neobuggy or whatever the excuse is. No, that's an excuse. Some people will always have an advantage. That's how life goes. We should work so that worlds aren't held in people's backyards or Euros aren't held in people's backyards twice. By the way, Ongaro has won neither of those times in his backyard. Not even the Euro B, which was held in his backyard. He has won neither of those times. He had to travel all the way down.
It's been 3 Euros there. Euro B and 2 Euro is.
Federation race. Yeah. So like that, like this whole thing like needs to stop. Like go to these races. And like I already ranted a bit about the warm-up races. Like why the hell do you need to go to the warm-up race? Just like don't go. Like there's a race. The race is about like you go there and you have the practice, you have the qualifying, and then you race, and that's it. Like to me, this is so silly. It's like everyone's just trying to sort of get their have their cake and eat it too, or eat the cake and have it too.
This is gonna be my last thing on this. I understand what they're saying. I don't know if they're being cynical against the Americans.
I do too. But it's silly that they're saying.
I would be like, hey, this is my thing. Like you're professional, and maybe doing the Montpellier and doing this is too much too. I understand that too.
Yeah, that I can accept.
Yeah. So to say all of this, I think I would rather just see those guys come race because I want to see all the Europeans, as many come over and race. So unfortunately, they won't.
None of this is targeted specifically at Boots or his dad. This was just like this came up. So
yeah. So I had heard him say it on Extra Lap too. So I was like, I forgot to tell you about it.
I think what I was ranting about was the general consensus because there seems to be this like, especially with Americans, but apparently with Europeans too, that you can't go to this race because they have an advantage. Bullshit. Like they might do, but that's how it is, and that's how it's always going to be. Americans have an advantage at DNC, no doubt, no questions. Always have had, and always will have. Because this is a race for, especially drivers like on the West Coast. They go to these tracks or these style of tracks all the time. Joey has built tracks in California for 20 years now. People know what type of tracks he builds, the jumps, the surfaces, how the tracks drive. The Americans will always have an advantage at DNC, even though it's a new layout. The layout isn't the hard part here.
All right, I get it, but I would just want to see him come race. But I don't know.
I do too.
I haven't heard that from. I know.
I'm fine with having the thing I'm just mad at is making dumb excuses. At least say something like, I think it's too close to Montpellier. I can't prepare properly. Fine. I can accept that. That's fine.
I can too.
But don't make excuses for stuff you don't want to do.
Yep. Well, I look for it. I'll see these Europeans next week. That would be great. I think that's it for us today, Max. Thank you for your time. You got all excited. You got all hot on the collar. You started sounding like me at one point. Thank you to everybody that sent in the questions. Thank you to Jonni Skidmore for his time. Thank you, Max, for your time. Appreciate it. Guys, if you're trying to message me, I'm going to be busy here over the next week, so maybe I don't message as many people. I'm going to be busy, and I'm looking forward to DNC next weekend. We'll have a show. I think maybe Wednesday we'll have a show, maybe Tuesday. We'll see. Tuesday's going to be, if it's set up in time, maybe. So look forward. Keep looking at our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our House of RC page, all that stuff. And yeah, we'll let you know next week how many shows we're planning on doing. Keep track of our YouTube page as well. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to the NNRC Squad around the world. We can't do it without you guys. Thank you for all the support. Remember to hit that like, sub, notification button, leave some reviews, all that good stuff. Help us get out in the stratosphere. Thank you to the patrons of the podcast. We can't do it without you guys. Extra support. I'll be seeing a bunch of you guys. I will have shirts, hats, decals for sale at DNC. I will not be shipping anything because I will not have time to ship anything. I will be coming back home right after DNC. I won't have time. I don't even have my own transportation, so I cannot ship anything, anybody. So if you have some friends there that can bring it home for you, fine. And I'll send you a PayPal address that you can pay and all that stuff. Limited supplies on everything. With that said, thank you to the awesome sponsors of the podcast. We can't do it without these guys. Remember, everybody, showing the sponsors some love. Shows the podcast some love. Shout out to Invisible Speed, TZO Tires, High Tech RC, TNR Fuels, Beach RC, Techno RC, Lugs Racing Tires, Mayako, JQSM, G-Spec RC Tuning, Papa Willie's Traction Tonic, Racecraft USA, Clinic RC, JTP RC, RCGP, House of RC. Shout out to my boy RC Kevin. He's busy doing his thing. Max, that's it. I got to go.
Yeah, man.
I'll talk to you next week, dude. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. You too, man. It was fun.
Yeah. It's fun. You know what? Go get a real Valentine's and not a fake one. If that's said, I'm leaving you on that one. Because, you know what? Nitro's the glory. E-Buggy pays the bills. Max isn't getting any Valentines. Lefty and Max are out.